Hello, and you can't see me for a change, but you can hear me. I just want to bring you some exciting news. As you can see here, let me move over now to me. And basically, I've just completed another major project, my second Master Method course. And I'm gonna now, it's on sale now at this moment in time in the GingerGM shop. So if you're interested in buying it, it's on sale for a very short period at 50% off, and then it'll go up to full price. So go and get yourself a copy. But what I'm going to talk about in this video is a couple of things. First of all, I am going to, talk about the course and how I came about building it, what I did to build the course, what it's got in the course, how it can definitely help you and improve your chess. And as well as that, I'm going to give you a little free lesson taken from the course. So I'm going to give you a little sort of lowdown on a certain area of the course, and I'm going to give that across to you for free in case you're interested in basically having an idea, about the way I'm teaching during the period of this course. Okay, well, first of all, I do have to say, I do a lot of free stuff on YouTube. And one of the reasons I can do free stuff, and I want to continue doing lots of free stuff, is obviously I've got to have money to survive, and I've got to make a living. Otherwise, I can't create free stuff. A lot of people say, "Oh, you're selling things, blah blah blah." Of course, I'm blooming selling things because I need to pay the rent like everyone else, and I like to think I give a lot back to chess. But obviously, a way to help me is always by purchasing things that I create. And we do offer a full refund, so even if you want to buy this course and you're not happy with it, we will refund your money within 30 days. So you've got that option. But if you are trying to improve your chess, I really do spend a lot of time making the stuff, and I really do hope it helps you seriously improve your chess. That's why I do it. I enjoy doing it. I'm lucky to have a job like that, but in order to do YouTube videos and stuff, I obviously need to sell some things now and again to support that and give me more time to do free stuff. So it's a great way to support me by buying this course. So first of all, before I go into the little free lesson where I'm going to talk about sort of elements that come about in the course, let me tell you how I came to sort of make this second course, what sort of inspired me to do it, and what elements I picked and why I picked the particular chapters that I did. Well, first of all, my first course has got very good feedback. Thank you so much for everyone who's brought it and the great feedback, and it seems to have helped a lot of people improve their chess, which I'm extremely happy about. I get very nice messages from people who say, it's the best $75 or so that they've ever spent. Thank you very much. This course, I was happy with the first course. Of course, of course I was happy with the course. Of course I was. But I thought, well, how can I really, round off that first one and really help you improve with another course that will go alongside the first one and really take you to the next level. And over my sort of 30 years of chess and teaching, one of the things that I encounter the most from people, one of the things I see the most from people who are trying to improve is people who get stuck in a rut. It's also people who are not sure about how they should be learning, what they should be doing. They've maybe brought 100 opening books, but they're still not improving. And this course is really aimed at revolutionizing your chess. So if you're stuck in a rut, it's trying to get you out of that rut, take you to the next level. Or if you're new to chess, it's trying to give you a whole overview and trying to give you the easiest sort of, I'm trying to spoon feed you in the easiest possible ways to play. And I also, I'm a man of my word. I'm suggesting to you openings that I play that have helped me, as I'm going to prove to you in a second. And I also honestly think one of the most important things in chess is tactics and improving your tactical ability. So the first part of this 15-hour course, I'll bring up the content so you can see. And this took me a long time to think of the best way of doing it. The first half of this course is really about giving you an opening repertoire. And I don't go into too much detail on the openings, but I want to give you a rough, very quick an easy 1 hour lesson on how to learn an opening. And this is with white and with black against white's two main responses. So, for example, what I've done as white, I've recommended openings where you start with e4 and you try to get into isolated pawn positions. The other thing I really try to do, maybe this is the first time this has ever been done, as far as I know, is, okay, I've given you these openings, that's 3 hours of the course, so you've got an overview, so after hopefully watching an hour of my stuff on e4, you're ready to play it. But the real intention of that was to get you into a middle game position where you're comfortable. And that's really what this course is about. It's getting you into middle game positions, which I demonstrate how you get there, and then I demonstrate what you should do in those middle game positions, what your opponent's going to try to do. And the idea is then, whenever you play chess, whenever you get into the middle game, you'll know exactly what to do. You'll know the plans, you'll know what you should be doing, and you'll know the ideas. So I've picked with e4, for example, openings where you try to get into an isolated pawn position in every sort of outcome. So, for example, against the French, for example, I played a French, so I'm going to start with that. I recommend knight d2, and against all of black's moves, we're going to try to get into an isolated pawn position. What do I mean by that? We'll come to my lesson a bit later on, but what I mean by that is that, for example, black's two main moves are c5 or knight to f6. I play knight to f6. I'm recommending bishop d3 here, and after c5, I'm recommending c3. And what I'm trying to get here is, for example, a position like pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. And you can see how I've kind of bypassed the opening moves. Obviously, I go into explanations how to get this position, but this is the structure I thought would be best for you guys to revolutionize your chess as white. Structures where you have the isolated pawn. I talk about this in detail in the course, the pros and cons of this. I'm not going to talk about it here, but this I call the skeleton of the position, the isolated pawn. The pawn structure is a skeleton. I talk about how you move the pieces, where your pieces should go, what you should be doing in the middle game, what your opponent should be doing, with the intention, when you're playing white, in the majority of games, I want you to start with e4 and try to get into these isolated pawn positions so you will know what your plans are, what you'll be doing. I'm trying to give you shortcuts, and I'm trying to get you into the same middle game positions. So if you don't have a lot of time to learn chess, you know, if you've got a job, if you've got a wife, you've got a family, you've got a life, if you've got pubs to go to, this course will throw you in and give you everything you need quickly. So that is really the first part of the course. And I go into a lot of detail into your middle game ideas in, you know, not just as white, but as black as well. Now, the second part of the course, as you can see here, part 2, how to find better moves, is something which I was going to make the whole course about this. I was going to make it all about how to improve your calculation, how to improve your tactics, how to improve your attacking, but mainly calculation and how to become a better attacking player. Now, again, everything I do has a reason. Why did I do this? The reason I did this is because, again, from my experience of watching people and my years of teaching experience and, you know, looking at people who want to improve, I found that people who get stuck in a rut, they become too passive in their play. And they need, and also, you know, tactics, if you improve your tactics, you will only become a better player. So the openings are aimed at getting you tactical positions that I've picked. Then it's how to calculate better when you get these tactical positions in the second part of the course. And one very important thing, again, which I know a couple of people talk about, but not as many as you think in various books, chess books, is, well, in a position, let's say you get to a position, how do you know when, and how do you know what to look at? How do you know when and what? So how do you know when you should be looking for a tactical idea, and how do you know what tactical ideas you should be looking for? Like, lower rated players will, you know, they won't spot these ideas that grandmasters do. It will go over their head. And then, so what I'm trying to explain in the second part is, when you need to sort of slow down and notice these things, and skills you can use to notice tactics in your games. And then I go into a lot of detail how to calculate tactics, how to improve your calculation. Now, okay, I mean, I think I've kind of talked enough. I'll put the contents up one more time. But the main idea really of this is to revolutionize your chess with some new openings to help you in the middle game, so you will know in the middle game what you should be trying to do. So the patterns, I go, again, this is why it links into the first course. I didn't really go into openings in the first course. I just went into pattern ideas. But this one I've gone to more detail of actual openings and actual recommendations that I'm going to, put across to you. So that's the first whole part of this course. And then the second part is all about, like I say, I call it the awakening there. It's being awake to possibilities, how you can become more awake, and then how to calculate better, and then, typical patterns and visualization. So let me now, give you a little lesson and explain and give you an example how this has helped me and how I'm aiming to help you. Well, the first game I've got here is one of the games which is in the start of the course, and I've already discussed isolated pawn positions, and this here, as we're going to see, this position here is a typical isolated pawn position. Now again, I go into much more detail in the course how you get to this position, the moves that get you there, but the real idea is when you get this position, what should you be doing? And this was a game actually played with a good friend of mine, Nicholas Pert, under 18 world champion, grandmaster, against Grandmaster Ganguly, played at British Championships. Nicholas Pert had white here. And let me just give you a gist of what this course goes into. Now, when you get these isolated pawn positions, and again, I hope you know what an isolated pawn position is. If not, the course will explain that. Boom, boom. But when you get it, as white, you should be trying to attack. Hence why I'm suggesting it, because I want you to become more attacking, aggressive players. You need to keep pieces on the board. Now, what middle game plans do you have to attack? Well, after bishop g5, which Nick Pert played here, Ganguly castle kingside, Nick Pert now shows one of the main ideas that I go into in my course. And that is when you have the isolated pawn position. So now we've developed all our pieces. We've done basically the opening stage. We get to the middle game stage. We need to think of a plan. What is the main plan you should be doing in these positions? Well, the main plan, plan number one, there are other plans which I go into, but plan number one in these isolated pawn positions is the Fione attack. We call it the Fione attack, but I don't think she's trademarked it. And that is basically to attack h7 with your bishop and your queen. By doing this, you will force black to create a weakness, because he will have to move a pawn on the king side to defend h7. He will have to go g6 or h6. Every pawn move around the king makes a weakness. So this is the first basic rule I talk about, and we go into a lot of detail how you do that. Let's just watch how Nick does this. He goes queen d2. Now I give 3 or 4 different ways, different patterns. It's all about patterns, because they're the things that are going to stick in your mind, how white can aim to attack h7 with the bishop and the queen. I give at least 4 different ways you can do that. Now, the basic one is bishop c2 and queen d3. That's the basic one. In this one, Nick uses a different pattern. I call it actually in the course pattern number 1, because I love this game. He goes queen d2, and now we have knight to a5, bishop c2. This bishop belongs on this diagonal in the isolated pawn positions. This is key to know. And after b5, he now goes for pattern number 1, queen to f4, and the queen comes over to h4. Combined with the bishop here, you are getting plan number 1 rocking and rolling. You're getting that double power against h7. So this is just something, again, I go into detail. Let's have a look. So bishop b7, black continues simple development. And now we get our number one aim. We are pressurizing h7 with our queen and bishop. And another reason I love these isolated pawn positions is white's idea of very basic. You know, they're very aggressive. All the pieces remain on the board. Your aim is to checkmate your opponent quickly. What can be better? And in this position, for example, we now create a weakness because we're threatening bishop takes knight and queen takes pawn, checkmate. If black plays h6, well, I hope you can smell the move here. Bishop takes h6. Oh yeah. And the point of this is, well, we're going to get a mating attack. Again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. In the game, black played g6, and again, another thing I really concentrate on in the course is the typical ideas that, I tell you what, I might bore the hell out of you in the course by repeating them in different examples, but by the end of it, you will be an absolute legend in isolated pawn positions. You will be like GingerGM strength, and that's not GingerGM against Ben Feingold's strength. It's having a bad day. You'll be good strength. And another typical idea in the isolated pawn positions, and this demonstrates it's all a build-up. Chess is a build-up of ideas. Idea number one, we've created a weakness in black's position by making him go g6. As soon as black plays the move g6, we have to consider this typical sacrifice d5. And this is precisely what Nick played. And I'm going to show you how creating the weakness g6 here allows d5 to become a much stronger idea. And this really is trying to discombobulate, boom, black's position and to just increase the pressure. It's only a pawn. We don't care about pawns. And I give lots of examples where d5 is a key idea. Now, for example, here, what can black do? Well, one sort of, I think, move that shows just how good plan one was, of bringing the queen here and the bishop here, is pawn takes d5. If pawn takes d5, we now play rook to e1, and if black's pawn was back on g7, he may be okay, but with the pawn on g6, black is now losing. Can you see white's threat? White's threat is to go rook, boom, takes e7, and then bishop takes f6. This is white's main idea. And black can't do anything about this here, hence why he's losing. Okay, well, that was just a little taste. Again, I'll go into more detail on the course. I've got 4 examples of isolated pawn things here. Just a little taster, really, and, you know, a little overview. And the next example, let's bring up the next one then. Well, the next example, I'm just going to jump into the position after rook to e1. And let me just, for some reason, this is a game, who was this? This was between Raymond Keane with the white pieces, English Grandmaster, you might have heard him, he's written more books than anyone else in the world, or maybe he hasn't, but someone has, and Tony Miles with the black pieces. And again, we get our isolated pawn position. Now, one thing you might notice about this position, which is very intriguing, I'm a man of my word. In my last YouTube video, I nearly got an identical position to this for one of the first times in my life, and I won a very interesting game against Aquinas. So I'm following my own advice, and I'm learning a lot myself from doing this. So it's not just helping you guys, it's helping me, and I'm a grandmaster, and it's teaching me stuff. Now, in this game, let's have a look at another idea that I go into. Okay, well here, knight to f6 played, bishop g5, white's developed all his pieces, knight b4. Now this is your key attacking piece. You need to keep this in order to do stage 1, pressurize h7. So we got to go bishop b1, b6 played now, and now it's hard to get our queen to d3. We could go for the Nick Pert plan here of queen d2, queen f4, queen h4. That would be a very decent and doable plan in this position. But we've got to consider our opponent's options, and it's clear here that black may be taking on f3 in that one. And now another key idea in the isolated pawn position. When black has moved the knight away from c6, when black has not got a knight on d7, these two highlighted, is that a word? Highlighted, that's what I meant to say. Highlighted squares, knight to e5 becomes a very good idea. Now, one thing we often try to do here, is to bring our queen to h3. So this is another way we can get our queen to attack h7. And this is the second thing I look at. And again, this is normally stage 1 all over. Now, this is actually a bit later on this is chapter 4 or 5, this is in the course, because here after bishop b7, it's seemingly impossible now to get our queen to attack h7. So we now look at another main idea. Okay, if you can't get the queen to attack, what do you do? What's an idea here? Well, something I go into a lot of detail here. By the way, all your pieces are quite good here. All the white pieces are well developed. It's time to come up with a good attacking plan. The rook swing. Rook to e3. And again, this is something I talk about in some detail. This is something, if you're playing these isolated pawn positions, when you've moved the knight, the rook swing is a very powerful idea. And again, we look at how you can make this a successful attacking idea in your various middle game structures. So the rook comes around, and I'll just show you how Raymond Keane won the game here. g6, and now rook g3, aiming everything at g6. And yet again, what have we done? We've created a weakness in black's position. We've made him play a move in front of his king. Now, rook c8 was played, bishop h6, opening up power towards this square, rook to e8, white now kicks that knight away, the knight goes back, trying to exchange off the powerful knight on g6, but now, yet again, we see a brilliant attack here from white, and this is again something that we go into a lot of detail. What I'm trying to do with these middle game examples, which I'll show you, is we're trying to create the weaknesses in black's position. We're trying to get our pieces to the ideal squares. I talk about how you do that. For example, this rook swing has done that. And then when we've done all that, we just wallop our opponent on a square. Knight takes g6. And this was a beautiful example of white forcing victory in a very brutal way against one of the best players in the world at that time, Tony Miles. And I'm sure you'll have great victories as well using these techniques. For example, pawn takes, bishop takes a g6, and now white just plays queen b1, a very subtle move. The queen comes flying into the attack, and there's nothing black can do. Black is already lost. And the main thing here was just this rook swing idea. So I've got some examples of this we use. Okay, now just to show you it's not all about kingside attacks, and I give many examples of kingside attacks. I also look at some other elements, and I'm now going to show you just another idea. And again, if we look at the middle game structure we get here, this is from Kasparov-Karpov World Championship match. We have, again, another typical isolated pawn position. But I basically try to tell you all the plans that are there, every single blooming plan that you can have. And I'll tell you when they work and when they don't work. So, like I said, you'll be a master. And this is just as when you're white. I try to do the same with your black and against e4, d4. And then, you know, the whole course it's been a tremendous amount of work I've put into it. So, for example, here, Garry Kasparov with the white pieces comes up with a different idea. Because his bishop can no longer sacrifice itself on h6. Another idea in the isolated pawn, as we saw Nick Pert play, is playing the move d5 at the right time. Now, this can involve a kingside attack, but sometimes, as we see Garry Kasparov play here, after bishop a2, bishop d6, d5 can also involve playing on the queen side. When does this work well? This works well when you have your rooks on both of the half open lines, because you want to open up the position, and when you've moved the bishop to g3. Because when your bishop is on g3, it's not going to be as useful sacrificing against black's king. Because your bishop is pointing towards black's queen side, you want to maybe play on that area of the board. But again, we talk about this move d5, a key idea in the isolated pawn. And let's just see how Garry Kasparov got a very good position here. And this was a very important game from Seville 88 when he became world champion by defeating Karpov. This game was one of the key games that got him to world champion, allowed him to become world champion. And here, after knight takes d5, we had numerous exchanges. And even though everything's come off, Garry had a much better position here because his bishop is pinning the knight, his bishop is pointing towards the king side, and his rooks are controlling the open file. And again, I go into detail why this position is so good, how you can try to get this, when you should go for this and when you shouldn't go for this in the course. Now, I'm sure you saw my last YouTube video, but it really helped me, this course, because when in my last game I've played, I beat Grandmaster Quainus, who's 2550, and look what I did. I basically, I got this position. Let me just go back a couple of moves, and you probably saw my last video, but I mean, I am preaching what I'm teaching, and I think that's key to a lot of people. People who make sort of lessons and courses and they don't play them. You've got to be a bit suspicious, but I try to, everything I do, I try to play myself and have as weapons for the future. And look, I got this position. It's an isolated pawn position, and I knew the first thing I try to do is attack h7, so I went bishop c2, so I know from the course that this is, I've learnt myself, and I also know that I go into in the course that when black plays g6, I want to play h4, so I throw Harry up the board here. And also we know that even one of the last games I showed you, the Grayman King game, the rook is very good on e1. It can sometimes even swing around, but otherwise it can attack e6. So basically, I'm not going to go into this game because it's in my last YouTube video, but I learned a lot, and it helped me defeat a 2550 Grandmaster. And also, not just that, the second part of the course, all about calculating. Since I've made this course, I think I've actually revolutionised my own chess. You probably know I had an awful match against Ben Feingold. I was having a bit of a down moment. My ELO rating has dropped. Since I did this course, my calculation and what I was seeing, as you saw from from the game. I mean, in the actual game that I won, the main tactic I played here after rook to h8 was rook takes f6, and I calculated very well, if I dare say so myself. But one of the reasons I was calculating so well is the whole second part of the course is how to improve your calculation. And by going through things again, which I may have forgotten, it's helped me think in a much clearer way myself. It's quite weird when you're teaching yourself, but everyone can do that. It's chess. It's a personal game after all. And it has helped me. It seems to have helped me. My results have suddenly improved drastically. My calculations improved. And in order to play games like this, you need to be able to calculate at a high level. And, it's helped me. And, all I want to say is I really hope it will be a good purchase and it will help you. Now, okay, I know this is a bit salesy, and I'm going to do this for the next 5 days. I'm going to throw in some tutorials as well. But, it's important to me, like I say, to sell some of these courses in order that I don't have to go and get a job down Sainsbury's or even, one thing I've got away from, I did this for 7 years. I taught chess in schools for 7 years, and I'll be honest, it was okay, but I didn't really enjoy it because I found myself, I had to do it for money, to survive, and I found myself babysitting, basically. A lot of the kids who I taught didn't want to be there. I did the ages 6 to 11. I was teaching them how to move the pieces. And I had to do it for money, and I've been so lucky since then that I've been able to make just about enough money from the other stuff I do. Chess.com have helped me a lot because I've been working for them, ChessBase, doing DVDs for them. But it's you guys who support me by buying my products when you can, that allows me to keep doing this. That allows me to do more streaming, to do more free YouTube videos, and I want to do more free stuff and to do stuff like the GingerGM party. I mean, you can't believe how much money we spent arranging all that. That was giving something back. And, at GingerGM, we don't just want to take money. We want to give stuff back. We want to make chess cooler. We want to improve chess. We want to show people chess is a fun game. And, and like I say, buying this course will help me do that in the future. So I think that's enough of that. I think I'll throw in some blitz tomorrow or something, just to let you know I've got some streams going on. Quite a lot of streams going on. If you want to join in some live streams at my channel, which you can see in the address below, I've got a stream tonight, 6 p.m. GMT. I'm doing a webinar for iChess tomorrow at 5 p.m. On Friday, I'm streaming 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock on my Twitch channel. On Saturday, I'm doing a webinar for iChess at 5 p.m. You can check that out, their YouTube site, and I'm streaming on my channel 8 to 9 p.m. on Saturday as well. So that's what I've got planned. So I've got a lot of streams lined up, and hopefully, you know, we can have some fun and a bit of a laugh then. Now, if you want to buy the course, it's in the description below. So go there, and it will take you directly to where you can buy it at GingerGM, and you know, I'm sure it'll help you. There is a money back guarantee, so even if you don't like it, I don't mind. If you don't like it, I'll give you your money back. Hey ho, that's the way life goes. Thank you for watching this video, and yeah, I'll be back with loads more stuff soon. I'm going to try to up my YouTube game now if I can. Thanks a lot. Goodbye for now.